Is owner financing land a good idea? Well, I'm going to tell you right away, I really like owner financing, so we're going to really talk about that. So welcome back. My name is Ted Thomas. I've been involved in tax liens and tax deeds for over 30 years. So this is a subset of the real estate business, but welcome back. Now in this episode, I'm going to discuss owner financing and is it a good idea? But we're going to talk about owner financing on land, all right? We do it on property all the time, so it doesn't matter whether it's land as a property or whether you're putting land with real estate on it. So in my opinion, owner financing is a good deal. Now in this episode, before we finish, I'm actually going to give you some examples. Now there's many instances where you can make a profit not only when you sell the property, so the margin between where you bought it and where you sold it, you make that profit, but you also could make a profit doing the owner financing. So many times I've seen deals go together where the person made a profit between the margin where they bought and sold, and then they made even more money by doing owner financing on the land or on the property itself. What's really happening here? You probably got a lot of questions on your mind, so let me try to cover some of those. Now, many of the answers are pretty positive, but most of them are going to cause you to think a little bit. The idea is most everyone in the United States wants to own land. Now, why do they want to own the land? They want to own the land because they want to be involved in the appreciation of the values going up. They want to make money, but they don't want to have to work too hard. So when you own land, generally speaking, you don't have to maintain it like you would maintain a property. You have to paint it and clean it and fix it and do whatever. Land, generally, just you own the land and you don't have to do a lot to it. So thousands of individuals purchase land, and sometimes they subdivide it into a lot of little pieces. It doesn't matter whether those pieces are going to be for homes or whether they're going to be large parcels where people could go hunting on them, whatever. But many people buy large tracts of land and divide it into smaller tracts and sell it off. Other people buy a smaller tract and even subdivide that even more. All right, now how do they sell this when they get it? Well, it's always a challenge when you're in business to sell things. And to sell land is not difficult because everybody wants a little piece of it. So if you establish installment sales, I can tell you right now, you're not going to have any trouble selling land. Why? Because everybody can make a small payment on a small piece of land. So it's very attractive if there's owner financing on land. So the question today, is owner financing land a good idea? I'm certainly going to say yes. You're not going to get all your cash right away, but believe me, there'll be plenty of buyers. All right, so financing is a big element of the sale. And what do I mean by that? I mean, when you want to sell something, you have to sell something that a person wants and that's going to appreciate. You have to sell something that's desirable. Well, one of the ways you make land desirable is you sell it a little less than market price and you do owner-seller financing. So today's question is owner financing land a good idea? Again, I'm going to say yes, it is. Now, young people like to buy land for this reason. They can buy small pieces of it and not have to have a lot of money. Whereas when you buy real estate, which is built on top of the land, now you're going to have to get into some real money. So the land itself is relatively cheap, usually 10 or 20% of what a property is worth. If you're looking at a property that's real estate and has a home, about 10 or 20% of the value is the land underneath it. Well, it's a lot easier to buy 20% of something than it is to buy 100% of it. Okay, so why don't people do this more often? Well, a lot of people can't finance anything because they have a poor credit history. By that I mean they've mismanaged their credit, they've been lazy, they haven't made their payments on time, so they end up having a poor FICO, F-I-C-O, FICO score, which is one of the ways the banks evaluate and grade people whether they're going to allow loans. Now, the banks loan money at very low prices. However, if you want to buy at one of those low prices or get interest rates at low prices, you're going to have to make sure that you meet all the bank's guidelines. And believe me, there's a lot of guidelines. They want to know where you worked, how long you worked there, what your salary is, what your income tax is, why you're buying it. There are going to be a lot of questions. But more importantly than anything, they're going to check your credit history. And they're going to see, did you pay your bills on time? Are you the kind of person that they want to lend money to? So there's going to be a lot of rules, and I won't quote them all right now. But those rules keep about 20 or 25% of the people out of the banks. What do I mean out of the banks? Well, the banks reject them because they have poor FICO scores or they haven't done a good job of taking care of their credit. All right, but many sellers who own land and have subdivided and have pieces of land, they're willing to take those buyers and then they do owner-seller financing, whether it's the land or whether it's all of the real estate. So the person that's selling, if they'll take the time to think about how they're going to go about selling it, they'll be able to sell it a lot quicker if they have an installment sale. All right, so the whole ball game is different for land compared to real estate because the land is so inexpensive and there's so many things you can do with land. Once the real estate's in place, well, that was approved to be a house or a commercial or a residential, whatever it's going to be, but land, there's many uses for that. It could be agricultural. You could not only grow crops on it, but you could grow a forest on it. You could grow an orchard on it. You could use it for recreation. There's many different things. But if it's not in a place where it gets a lot of restrictions on zoning, now you've got a lot of ability to do things. All right, now with land, there's no inspections involved. There's no appraisals. But there is one thing that's going to be important, and that's going to be the survey so that you know exactly what you bought. Now, when you purchase land, if you don't survey it, how do you know what you bought? When you go out there and look, there's no lines on the ground. You don't know how to measure it deep. Don't know how to measure it wide. How are you going to figure out what it is? Well, you want to have the land surveyed. You want to know exactly what you're going to buy. If you don't do that, what are you buying? You don't know. Now, everything in real estate has to be done in writing. What do I mean by that? If you're going to buy, you're going to sell, the description, everything has to be in writing because that will be recorded at the local county records. Now, those are called the public records. Now, there's companies that do that kind of work, and title companies have a lot of expertise at that, and they'll have expertise at helping you find a land surveyor. Now, some people will do a lot more than survey the land. For example, is there something under the land? You know, could there be oil? Could there be gold? Could be, who knows what's that? So there might be mineral rights involved in land. So something else to think about. So in today's episode, all I'm really talking about is owner financing. Is it valuable on land? Well, if you're the person that owns the land, I can tell you right now, you're going to want to sell it at some time. And when you do want to sell it, by being able to offer owner-seller financing, I can tell you right now, you're going to get a lot more buyers than you ever would if you waited and just to sell it outright. Now, many banks will not finance land. Many banks will not finance land. They don't want anything to do with it. So the people that are looking for people that will provide the financing. All right, so you want to be involved with that. All right, now, do you have to subdivide it? No. Can you make more money if you subdivide it? Probably yes. Do you have to do the improvements on the land? The answer is no. However, if you do improvements, in other words, water, if it has utilities, it certainly will be more valuable than land that does not have water, does not have utilities. All right, so those are things that you'd want to check on. All right, now everything gets approved by the local government. The local county government's in charge of this whole thing. And what do they have to say? They have to say what you can use the land for. So everybody's going to ultimately get an approval for whatever they're going to do with that land. So if it's just open range land, there's probably not a lot of approvals going on. But if someone buys it and then they want to subdivide it, they want to put roads in, they want to put sewer, they want to put electrical, they're going to have to get approvals for all that. So that's going to change and make sure that the change is going to be approved. The County Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission will get involved. So open land is kind of an open business. But as soon as you start doing something to it, it's not going to be so open. By that I mean you're going to have to get approvals for what you want to do. So the question today is financing of land a good idea? Well, it certainly is, and I'll be right back. Now, when you buy land, how do you want to buy it? Most people want to buy it by making payments. So you'd like to make a small down payment and then installments until you had it paid off. Now, why would you like to do that? Well, most people want to do that simply because they can get the appreciation on all the land, but they only have a small investment, but that the down payment and a few payments. So they get appreciation on the whole value of the land. And you could buy so much more of it if you are able to make a small down payment and then installment payment. Now, everybody recognizes the same thing, but if you're buying land, you want to recognize that you have to think about how you're going to sell it. The banks are not going to want to provide financing, and you might not want to provide financing. So the question always is owner financing a good idea? I'm here to tell you it's a very good idea. Now, I've been involved in a subset of the traditional real estate business for over 30 years. And business I'm involved in is called tax liens and tax deeds. If you go to an auction where they're auctioning these properties, Basically, what's happened is people walk away from land, they walk away from real estate, they walk away from things that they own, they don't care. And what happens when they walk away? It's unwanted land. So the county, if the people don't pay the tax, will confiscate the property and then they'll resell it. When they want to resell it, they're going to resell it for a low price. They don't want the property, so they're going to resell it so they can collect the back taxes. Now, the back taxes might only be 10 or 20%, absolute maximum 20% of the value. All right, now if you could buy a property for 10 or 20% of its value, that would probably be a good deal. All right, so if it is a good deal, where can you find those? Well, every county is going to have those auctions. There will be an auction in all 3,000 plus counties and probably as many as 5,000 auctions annually. Now, at the auction, they'll be selling just basic land. They'll be selling residential land. They'll be selling residential properties. They'll be selling industrial. They'll be selling commercial. They have all kinds of things they're going to sell. But I could just about tell you from my 30 years experience that about 20% of all the properties that are sold at auction are going to be land. So this is a good deal for you because now you're going to be able to get properties for 10 and 20 cents on the dollar, and there won't be a lot of bidding up. Why isn't there bidding up? Well, it's simply this. People are basically created in a house. They grow up in a house. Guess what? They want to buy houses. Some people want to buy industrial land. Some people want to buy commercial. Most people aren't starting out in their investment career buying land. That doesn't mean they shouldn't. So at the auctions, there's not a lot of competition. So there's some great deals on land. In other words, there's a high price, according to the assessor, a high value on it, yet it's selling for a very low price. So these property owners sometimes just walk away from it. Some property owners forget they owned it, and it ends up going to tax sale. The point is, there's going to be plenty of these available at auctions. All right, now the county, they're authorized by the state legislature to sell these properties at auction. They're going to sell the properties for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar, and most land will not have any mortgage or deed of trust loan on it. So you're going to buy the property, and it's going to be free and clear. Now, you can do anything you want. How did you get your hands on it? You bought it at the tax defaulted auction. I've been in that business for over 30 years. It always works, and there's always plenty of properties to buy. Now, how did all of it happen? Well, what happened is someone defaulted. Once they default, the county confiscates the property. You see, the county was authorized by the legislature to levy the tax, collect the tax. If they can't collect the tax, they confiscate the property, and then they resell it back into the marketplace. That's the business I've been in, trying to buy those properties at 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar, and then I resell them back into the market. And so our question today, is owner financing of land a good idea? Absolutely. If you put that property up on the market, either with signs or on Zillow or on Facebook Marketplace, or put it on any one of the electronic sites that you want to use, you'll find out you're going to get activity just because you offered the installment sale. All right, so the prices can be reduced. You don't have to sell at retail prices, so buy it low and then go ahead and sell it low. Now, the bidders at these auctions are bargain hunters. They want to buy as cheap as possible. Well, properties coming back on the market at tax auction, I can tell you right now, they're pretty cheap. All right, so you kind of get the idea what this business is all about. I'm very affirmative and positive. Owner financing is a good idea. Now, I'm about to finish. As I finish, I want to tell you ahead of time, if you're going to go to the auction, don't buy anything at the auction unless you've had boots on the ground. A lot of reasons for doing that. There could have been a fire. There could have been a flood. There could have been a chicken farm next door that was very smelly. All kinds of things could happen to property. You want to know that before you get to the auction and before you bid on it, because you're going to have to sell it ultimately. Another thing you want to be very cautious of at the auction is how high are you bidding. So you want to have an exit strategy, knowing what you're going to sell the property for before you buy it. That way you control your bidding. My name is Ted Thomas, and right below me is a free gift.